Look, 1,309 days I've hopped on in a row. I think I missed one day when I had COVID in December of 2019. I believe it was Christmas Day, probably Christmas Day. I was flat out on the couch, sick as a dog, and I did not make my videos that day. But otherwise, for the last 3 or 4 years, pretty much every day, 3 years for sure, I've hopped online and shared what I'm working on. Sort of a video journal, since my vision has gone to, not to pot, but it's gotten really bad. I've used the video format to go ahead and record what I'm working on, what's working, what's not. And over the last year, pretty much since COVID hit, it's been a couple of things. It's been the Get Up and Go Challenge, which is free. It's a free 30-day challenge. I've done it. I just am wrapping up the 8th version of that Get Up and Go Challenge. And I did it in response to COVID-19. Like so many other people, it's like, okay, that just happened. What are we going to do now? What are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit and complain about ain't it awful and oh, this isn't fair? Or are we going to continue to move toward the things we want in our life and do something? And this has been this is something I can do and share with other people to keep myself and other people moving forward in the direction we want to go, despite all the craziness that's continuing to go on around us. Because guess what? There's never any such thing as going back to normal. Do you think countries that are taken over by a regime or a dictator ever go back to what they were like before? No, everything changes. And so a lot of us in COVID, due to COVID-19, are experiencing a massive change like that and of this magnitude that we've never experienced in our lives before. I've never lived through a pandemic before. I've never been in a pandemic before. I've never, I've been sick before. I've had to deal with my own personal health challenges, but never have I been involved in a tsunami of change that has impacted so many human beings on the planet simultaneously. And I think that's the big difference. COVID-19 has impacted nearly every single human being on the planet, as well as everything else on the planet. The ecosystem, the economy, the ecology, our, environment, everything will end up to have been impacted by COVID-19. It'll be like this huge wave of things that were affected that we didn't even consider would be affected by something like this. So that was Get Up and Go Challenge. I've been talking about that a lot. And each time I go through it, I share some learnings and lessons and things I'm changing and doing differently with it. Because, like anything else we do, it morphs and changes as we morph and change and as we learn more. This time through, I set myself a goal, and I've said it before, but failed miserably on several occasions, to be 10 minutes or less per video. And this time, I set it up, and it was 10 minutes or less. I think 9:58 was my longest video. I thought I went over a couple of times because I'm not using a super high-tech timing device, but it turns out that I didn't have it set exactly on 10. Thank you, Bad Eyes. And so it ended up being under 10 minutes. The one yesterday I thought was 10 minutes, or almost 10 minutes. It was only 7 something. So it just goes to show you a timer does help you to meet your time commits. Now, probably I just talked a whole lot faster during some things. Maybe not the best act. So since we're talking about the Get Up and Go Challenge, today we did a summary, and I did it in less than 10 minutes on all the things we've covered. And we did a lot. We covered 9 different areas and aspects of our life, applied the SOAP framework to it, covered a whole bunch of foundational basic tools that you could use first, covered well over 30 tools throughout the challenge, different tools and techniques and strategies that people can use going forward when it's appropriate for their life. Because guess what? Sometimes it's not appropriate right now to use a certain tool. So we had, a handful of tools for each of the story, the situation, for the options, for the actions, and for the progress, to make sure that you didn't just have one tool. Oh, I only have one decision-making tool. I have to use it for everything. One size seldom fits all. It's like using a hammer or a screwdriver because it's the only tool you have. So I wanted to make sure that people that go through the challenge are equipped with a huge toolbox of things that they can learn and more about if they're curious, practice, go out and try, apply to their life, so that not only will the areas of changes and challenges in their life be better, but they can apply it to other areas and aspects of their life that they want to be better. So did the whole summary, categorize the tools, which is the first time I've ever done that. I've never sat down and said, what are the tools we're using for the story, the situation, the current situation versus the desired situation. What are the tools we're using? I pick one each time we go through, but I never sat down and said, okay, well, here's all the ones we use for story. Here's all the ones we use for options. How do you come up with the different options that you're even going to consider so you don't get stuck in that mindset of it's this or that? I think that's part of why people think they don't know what to do, or they feel stuck, or they procrastinate because they feel like their options are limited. And that is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. Yeah, maybe black or white are the two most commonly used choices of color, but are they the only colors? Absolutely not. There's a whole spectrum and rainbow of colors and possibilities out there, just like there's a whole spectrum and rainbow of options and possibilities out there for each and every one of us. We just have to be willing to open up our eyes and see those options and know that they're available to us. Listen to what other people have done. You know, notice and pay attention what's working, what's not working, and then make your decisions and choices based on that. So we covered lots and lots of tools. And again, you know, have people heard of some of these tools? Yes. I mean, I think you'd have to be living under a rock nowadays to not have ever heard of, you know, imagination, visualization, meditation, hypnosis, gratitude. We've all heard a lot of the things that we hear from anybody before. The difference is, am I doing something with what I've heard? Am I having my own breakthrough, my own epiphany? Am I figuring out how it applies to me? We hear stuff all the time. Then, you know, 99% of it just gets filtered out and ignored. And then it's that 1% that we're going to decide, well, what does this mean to me? Am I going to act on it or not? And it's the things that we act on that we make a part of our life that really make a difference. So I'm getting more and more excited about the Get Up and Go Challenge. I think I will take the month of September off and probably hop into it again in October. I like the 31-day months because our 30-plus day challenge, the bonus day automatically still lands within the same month. So I would imagine, and I haven't made my commitment to myself for sure, but it looks like October and December again will be the 2 months that we do the Get Up and Go Challenge. So that will be 9 and 10 for this year. And then we'll see what the fate of it is beyond that. Again, it's a really fun way for me to give back, share information, share knowledge, share some things that I've learned in my life, share some things that I've totally messed up in my life to hopefully prevent other people from doing. And so I don't know where it's going to go. We'll see. I got some ideas, but we'll see if I choose to commit to them or not with all the other things I've got going on. Our Get Up and our Supersize Your Business idiom for today. Again, I'm doing an idiom that's change or challenge related for the month of August for Supersize Your Business because it kind of ties in and coincides and reinforces what I'm learning and what I'm doing and what I'm working on and different ways to approach that as I'm doing the Get Up and Go Challenge. So today was to get your act together. And who among us has never ever in our life ever been told or told ourselves, hey, you need to get your act together. I think I woke up yesterday and today saying I need to get my act together. I've got a cold, I'm feeling under the weather, I'm being lethargic, I'm not doing the things I usually do, which makes me feel worse. It becomes this vicious cycle. Wham. So today, whether it's rain or shine, we've had a lot of rain lately, rain or shine, I will be outside in the fresh air because I think even when it's raining, the best thing for me is fresh air in the outdoors when I'm feeling under the weather. It's just a cold. You know, guess what? Colds are still out there. It's interesting. Some of the people you talk to, you know, when COVID-19 hit, it's like every other ailment and every other disease on the planet disappeared, poof, like magic. And all there was COVID-19 and how you deal with COVID-19 and the ramifications of that. Forgetting that millions of people were already dealing with health challenges of their own, you know, ranging from cancer, chronic pain, heart disease, you name it, diseases I can't even pronounce, for years before COVID-19 came along. And guess what? One of those things was colds, the common cold. We all still get colds. The regular flu is still out there in its many versions and iterations, along with COVID and all the other craziness that we now deal with. So I shared 12 different things in 12 different ways to really handle and get down to business with respect to dealing with getting your own act together. How do we get our act together? How do we organize and set up our life and make things work and create things so that the universe works in our favor, not against us? Because people sometimes feel that, like, oh, the world's out to get me, nothing ever works out for me. I can't even whine voice that because it's been a long time since I've thought that and felt that way. But there's a whole lot of victim mentality in the world still. There's a whole lot of stuff going on that we just don't notice. We don't have the capacity or the capability of noticing everything. And when there's a mass, I don't want to say, I don't want to use the C word, but when there's a mass strategy to keep the truth from people, to keep people in the dark, to keep feeding people. It's like my dad used to say, I'm just a mushroom. You girls keep me in the corner and feed me a little bit of shit once in a while. Well, it's true. It's like the media and social media and certain organizations and certain individuals who are trying to just manipulate the rest of us. They're treating us like mushrooms. But guess what? Most of us aren't mushrooms. We're giant flowers or crops or whatever, if we're using the mushroom and the other plants in the world are not fungus. I guess mushrooms are not the thing that we are. Anyway, I'm digressing. I'm getting off in my mind on a story that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So how do you get your act together? Lots of ways. There's lots of different things you can do. The number one thing is just decide you want to get your act together. What area or aspect of your life you want to get your act together in. Decide what you want. What's your story now? What do you want it to be? Then there's this gap here, right? Whenever there's this gap between where we are now and where we want to be, there's cognitive dissonance, which is a really fancy name for saying desire to change, to figure it out, to find a way to fill that gap. And the SOAP framework helps to fill that gap. And so when you can do that and install that in your subconscious, it becomes as easy as breathing. It becomes automatic to make sure that when things happen, you just automatically do the best thing for you or pick the best thing for you or are constantly going through the process of, what does this mean to me? How am I going to respond? What does this mean to me? How am I going to deal with this? What does this mean to me? Nothing? Okay, I'm just going to ignore it and go to what I am working on to make progress toward the things that I want in my life. I really love, and I like a lot of the things that we do in the Daily Challenge, but today's I really loved. Probably because in the last few years since I've come online from the offline world, and I know it happened in the offline world, of course, but this whole pretending to be something that you're not, the whole imposter, the whole, dressing it up with smoke and mirrors, and maybe it's like women in makeup, it's false advertising, maybe it's actually false advertising, saying that and claiming you could do things that you can't do, but this whole idea, and I guess television and media started it with infomercials and things, that you can be an overnight success, right? Because they show these overnight success stories, but they don't show you any of the background, any of what really happens. And then in the online world, it's like overnight success syndrome on steroids. Everybody is pretending to be something that they're not. Not everybody. I don't like generalizations. Lots of people are pretending to be something that they're not. Lots of people are faking it till they make it. And that's super annoying to me. So our challenge, or our daily to get to know ourselves better thing was wisdom. Wisdom is not the purchase of the day. Thomas Paine said this. So this has been around a long time. And then it's got a fill in the blank thing. It took me blank years, blank months, blank days to become wise about blank. I would love if you would share how long it took you to learn something, become something, be an expert in something in the comments below, because I, for one, am tired of seeing these, everybody wants instant gratification, so let's just tell them they can have instant gratification, because it's a lie, right? Anybody that's achieved anything in their life, we know that. We weren't born doing it. We didn't just wake up one day and decide, and then the next day we were an expert at it. Anything that we want, anything that's worthwhile, means that we have to become the person that's capable of having that thing, doing that thing, being that thing. So if you've been telling yourself for a decade or 2 decades or 5 decades that you want to be a millionaire and you're not a millionaire yet, it's because you haven't become the person that you need to be a millionaire or a billionaire or a gazillionaire, whatever you're looking toward. So then instead of asking yourself, why am I not a millionaire yet? Say, what is it going to take for me to become the person I need to be to achieve that goal or objective, to be that billionaire, to be that millionaire, to be that gazillionaire. So wisdom, and I will say, you cannot purchase wisdom. You can purchase other people's knowledge and experiences and learn from them and get coached by them. But the truth is, even the best coach in the whole wide world, the person that they're coaching has to be the one that takes action and does something with what they're being coached on. We could have a whole day discussion on the power and impact of coaching, because I totally 100% obviously believe in it, since I'm a coaching consultant as well on the side. But I can't make anybody do anything. It's like thinking we can make our kids do something. We can teach our kids. We can be the example and lead by example and show them how to become, but it's ultimately, well, you know, once they hit about, not even, I want to say 15, but not even 15, it's once they can start thinking for themselves, so it's probably more like 7 or 8, they start to create their own person, who they're going to be, who they're going to become, and how they're going to show up in the world. And we can continue like to impact and try to influence that. You know, you can use evil things like, you know, propaganda and manipulation and torture, but those things aren't going to work, because inside is who the person decides to be, and that's entirely and amazingly perfect, up to each and every one of us. So I really like this one today. How long did it take you to become an overnight success would be how I would ask it. Actually, I might actually ask that today in one of my social things, because it's a good question. How long did it take you to become an overnight success? Or how long did it take you to achieve whatever it was? You know, some people, how long did it take you to decide what even you wanted to be when you grow up? All right, so those were the 3 main pieces of content that I'm doing today. Plus this, just sharing and documenting my journey. I guess if our life's worth living, we should be willing to share it and be the example for other people. We can either be the example or the warning. I think we're all a combination of both. I know I'm definitely an example and a warning in different areas and aspects of my life for other people. You know, I'm a warning. If you don't take care of yourself, you could actually end up dead. If you work yourself, you can actually work yourself to death. You can stress yourself to death. You can do all these things. So in those ways, I like to be a warning, because we don't have to do that. All of that I created on my own. I created all that stress and worry and doubt and fear and not taking care of myself. I did all that, and it wasn't until I came out of that, luckily I did come out of that, that I decided, okay, I got to learn what I'm doing wrong and what's a better way to live my life than that, because that obviously wasn't working out very well for me. And if I didn't change immediately, and I mean massive changes in many areas of my life and my lifestyle, I wasn't going to be here to talk to anybody or share anything or be there for my kids to grow up. So that's a pretty good motivator to change and figure your life out and get your act together, which is what I've been doing and will continue to do till the day that I finally transition and expire. All right, as you know, a expiration date on this planet. All right, have an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, I'm going to nurse my cold. I'm going to get outdoors and enjoy a beautiful day. I'm going to do all the other things that I committed to doing today. I would love to be a resource for you if you need one. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow just to let you know what she's up to now. Have a great day.